Joe Bennett joins the Rippaverse. This is our big news of the day. This got announced by Eric July yesterday, and this actually is very historic and a big deal for Eric July and his company. So this is going to be for the Alphacore book, which is going to be dropping later this year. Alphacore is written by the legend Chuck Dixon, and this matters because Chuck Dixon was really the first person to get canceled by the comic book industry. Back in the early 2000s, Chuck Dixon was pro-Bush, pro-America. It was proto-woke comic industry, and they blacklisted him from DC Comics at the time. He'd been talking about it for years and really never got much traction until the late 2010s when we all started getting together. And that's what they did to people, is they isolate people, destroy them. And there really weren't enough of people who were canceled at the time to really fight back. Now that's changed, obviously, and the Rippaverse is really the forefront of this. So the hiring of Joe Bennett is a big deal as well, because Joe Bennett is a huge Marvel artist. He just got done with the Immortal Hulk, which was one of Marvel's biggest properties of the last 10 years. It was actually one of the books that was actually good out of Marvel, which are there are very few of those. And it was mostly due to Joe Bennett's art just being just that compelling and wonderful. Joe Bennett's also done work on Gail Simone's Birds of Prey for DC Comics. So believe it or not, he's done art for one of the, of course, proto-woke writers out there as well. Now, I'm not anti-Gail Simone. She's actually a friend of mine, so don't read too much into that. But it's interesting that he's been able to transcend just sort of these political movements with just the ability to do this art. Now, Joe Bennett a couple years ago was canceled. So a bunch of Marvel people came out and found out that he voted for and supported Bolsonaro, who was Brazil's president at the time. And Bolsonaro is, of course, a stand-in for Trump, according to the wokeites in Brazil, even though, of course, most Americans don't know anything about Brazilian politics or how it works or anything. And there was an election stolen down there, too. We can leave that alone for now. His right to choose who he wanted to be president in his own country was taken away by a bunch of American white saviors who, of course, wanted to just shun anybody who disagrees with them whatsoever. And it was really sad to watch that happening to a Hispanic man like Joe Bennett. But Eric July is very familiar with this too. I mean, as all these woke white people, go out there and call him a Nazi as a black guy. It's ridiculous. So this is a wonderful thing. You got Chuck Dixon and Joe Bennett, two canceled people in the industry who are arguably the most talented people the industry has seen over the last 30 years, now are joining the Rippaverse for Alphacore #1. So here it is. Here's the announcement. We sat quietly on this info long enough. So did I. I knew about this months ago. To announce that Joe Bennett has joined the Rippaverse to illustrate Alphacore #1. Check out the full write-up here. ISM #2 has also crossed 2 million milestone, which means we have had 2 back-to-back multi-million-dollar campaign, thanks to all the incredible support. So there's a video with Joe Bennett just talking about joining the Rippaverse. He does so in his native language of Portuguese, but it's subtitled for you. And Joe Bennett is a great guy all the way around. His art is incredible. This is huge, huge news for the Rippaverse, and I'm very, very happy that Eric July and his team are building something bigger, because now, with this kind of talent on board with Chuck Dixon, with Joe Bennett, we are looking at a modern-day replacement for Marvel and DC, a superhero universe which is on the level or better than the level that these companies can produce, and there's nothing they can do about it. It's completely over for Marvel and DC at this juncture, because this is the biggest news in comics. All right, leave a comment down below with what you think about this. Hit that like and subscribe button. We'll be back soon.